Hey there! Today we're diving into the good, the bad, and maybe the ugly of living in Venice, Florida. We have people calling us all the time for relocation help, and we absolutely love it. So if you're even considering moving here to Venice, you want to watch this video and then give us a call. I know this place inside and out, and I'd love to help you make Venice your new home. So whether you're seriously ready to make a move today, or just starting to explore the possibilities, stick around. We think this video is definitely going to help. Okay, so first off, for those that don't know, let's look at where exactly Venice, Florida is located here on the map. Well, here's Florida, and you can see this little red spot right here as we zoom in. That's Venice, and it's this charming little city nestled right here on Florida's Gulf Coast, just south of Sarasota. So imagine 14 miles of pure beach bliss. From down here to up here, that's a whole lot of sand, surf, and sunsets. Now you can see on the red and white outline on my map here that this is the Venice city limits, but most of this area, I'm going to draw for you, is also considered part of Venice by most people. Now, I'm not perfect with my little digital marker here, so I say most of because not quite all of, but most of. So Venice is just south of Sarasota here and just north of Inglewood down here. This area gets a little confusing for some people because those that have a rough idea of the area but don't know it super well tend to think that it is north of Northport, which is actually over here, but it's basically due east because most people use I-75 as a reference point, and Northport is the next city along I-75, so they assume Northport is south, but as you can see on the map, I-75 turns east and west here, so it gets a little confusing for people. Honestly, it even throws me off sometimes. But don't worry about that. If you get confused on directions and all that, just call me. All right, so now that we know where we are, let's talk about the people here in Venice. This is super important because you're going to be interacting with the people here on a regular basis, whether it's just driving around town or talking to people in the grocery store or coffee shop, or seeing them every day walking your dog or cruising your neighborhood in your golf cart. So in Venice, you have just over 28,000 full-time residents in the city limits, and then in the surrounding unincorporated areas, you're probably closer to about 45,000 people. It's small enough to feel friendly and manageable, but big enough to have everything you really need without a ton of the traffic and congestion you're now starting to get as you get into the larger cities like Sarasota, and especially Tampa or St. Pete, Miami, Orlando. It's a super popular spot among Midwesterners, and I would say that that's followed closely by those coming from the Northeast. Though if you're coming from a larger city in the Northeast, you might find it a little bit too quiet if you like the city sounds and activities. And recently, I've even had clients coming from out west, from states like Colorado, Utah, Nevada, and Arizona, who are choosing Venice as well. You really still get that small town charm, but also with tons of community events and a fantastic neighborly vibe. Now I will say, Venice does tend to skew a little bit older in demographic compared to Sarasota or Northport, and therefore tends to have a bit more relaxed pace of life, and doesn't get overly busy or loud on the nights and weekends. So now if you still aren't sure what area is best for you yet, no worries. Keep watching because you don't want to miss the pros and especially the cons of living here in Venice. If after you see this, you still aren't sure, just give us a call. We'll walk you through it. All right, now let's get into the pros of living here in Venice because it has a lot going for it. And if any of these reasons make you think, I need to see that for myself, call us and we will help you take the next step. So number one is its historic charm and architecture. Downtown Venice is really known as what's called a Florida Main Street city, and it's this little slice of Renaissance style heaven. The architecture is beautiful, and if you're a sucker for antique shops and boutiques, or just strolling around, you'll love it here. Number 2 is beaches galore. Like we showed you, 14 miles. So if you're here for the beaches, Venice won't disappoint. We're talking Venice Beach, Nokomis Beach, Casperson, and Venice is also home to the only dog beach in all of Sarasota County, which is called Brohard Park. So if you have a dog or multiple dogs that love the sand and water, Venice is probably your spot if you're looking in Sarasota County. Oh, and I don't know how I almost forgot to mention this, but Venice Beach, really all along the Venice area, is super well known. It's actually considered the shark tooth capital of the world. Just walking up and down the beach, you can constantly, pretty much any time of the day, you can find shark's teeth that wash up on the beach. Now, the best time is to go super early in the morning because people go out and collect them. So if you get out there early, you can find a heck of a lot more than if you wait. And also, Venice Beach specifically is known as a salt and pepper beach. So be prepared for that. They call it a salt and pepper beach because there is both black and white sand. So it's a little bit different in temperature, especially in those summer months. You got to be a little bit careful because the black sand definitely can get hot. So just keep that in mind when you're wandering Venice Beach in the summertime. And number 3, the parks and recreation. So maybe you aren't really a beach person, but you're still looking at Florida because where else in the US do you get year-round warm weather and sunshine? And you still like the outdoors, of course. Well, Venice has over 40 parks. Yes, that is definitely a lot for such a small town. From Snookhaven County Park, where you can walk the trails or paddle along the scenic rivers, to Venetian Waterway Park, which is also great for biking and walking, Venice is an outdoor lover's dream. There's plenty of space to get your nature fix. This also includes sports parks, especially if you're a baseball fan like me. Cool Today Park in Welland Park is the home of the Atlanta Braves for spring training, and you have 3 other baseball teams, professional MLB teams, spring training homes, as well as multiple minor league teams right here in this area as well. Number 4, golf, golf, golf. So calling all golfers, Venice has you covered if you are a golfer. There are 18 golf courses, with most of them allowing some sort of public play, which is really awesome if you don't like playing the same course every day, and also tends to make them a bit more affordable. My kind of golf. From Venetian Golf and River Club to Pelican Point, you'll find gorgeous greens and great weather, of course, year-round to work on your swing. Number 5 is the dining and fresh seafood. Venice has some really fantastic dining options. You'll find seafood for days, along with spots that serve up Mexican, Thai, Italian, and more. If you want to enjoy a meal with a view, I would check out Sharky's on the Pier, which is one of the few really cool kind of laid back beach bum spots that actually has good food, or the Crow's Nest, which is one of my personal favorites and a bit more upscale, which they have fantastic fresh seafood and an amazing view right on the water. And if you want good Mexican food, I'm from Arizona originally and find it very hard to get legit Mexican food here in Florida. So it's always a big deal when I find a spot. You want to check out Mi Pueblo on 41. It is just south of East Venice Ave. Number 6 is super low crime rate. Another one major plus for Venice is just how low the crime rate is here. According to all of the community data sites such as Neighborhood Scout, Best Places, Niche.com, and a bunch of others, it is one of the safest cities in the entire state of Florida. So whether you're strolling downtown or walking your dog, you really can feel safe here. Number 7 is no state income tax. This is Florida, folks. We don't have any state income tax. Do I need to say more? That's a big win in the pros column for me and is one of the biggest reasons why people move to Florida. Number 8 is the year-round warm weather. Yes, one of the other big reasons that people come here is the warm weather. Venice has that sunny, beachy vibe all year round. And Venice is below the frost line, and actually averages a couple degrees warmer than even Sarasota, which is just a little bit north. So if you're ready to ditch the snow and ice and Venice is calling your name, give us a call so we can get started on finding your new home. But stick around because you don't want to miss the cons. So now for those cons, let's talk about the little quirks of Venice and see if this is something that keeps you from maybe making Venice your home. So number one, the high-ish cost of living. I say high-ish because Venice isn't the cheapest place to live in Florida, but it is also definitely not the most expensive. It runs about 5% higher than the average city across the US and about 2% more expensive than the average city here in Florida. The things that do push it up a little bit most are going to be housing related expenses like home prices, with the current median home price being about $450,000 right now, and homeowners insurance. The number two negative thing about Venice, Florida is traffic during the peak season. If you're a full-time resident, you will get to experience the relaxed, easygoing commutes of the summer and fall when the snowbirds aren't here. But during the peak snowbird season of the winter and spring, be prepared for a significant increase in traffic. It's not as bad in Venice as some of the other bigger cities, but it will definitely add to any commute time that you already have. So just remember, they're here contributing to the economy and tax base, which is what allows you as a full-time resident to enjoy the lack of a state income tax when you get a little frustrated with them, probably in traffic. Number three, which kind of goes along with the last one, tourist crowds at your favorite spots. Speaking of snowbirds and tourists, Venice does get a bit crowded during the winter and spring months, like we mentioned before. Downtown Venice, the beaches, and the restaurants can definitely get busy. So if crowds aren't your thing, it's something to keep in mind, but remember, this happens virtually everywhere in Florida, especially the southern half. And while it is significant in Venice, it is definitely not as bad as some other areas, but of course also a little worse than others. Con number four, limited public transportation. So if you're hoping to rely on public transport, Venice, and really pretty much all of Florida, is probably not the ideal spot for you. You will pretty much need a car to get around here, as the public transit options are very limited. There is Breeze Transit, which is the bus system that serves all of Sarasota County, but there are only two, yes, you heard that right, two bus lines that serve Venice. So if you aren't on one of those two routes, or you need to go anywhere outside of those two routes, you're gonna need a car. Number five, the weather and hurricane risks. So yes, while weather is a massive pro we talked about before, for many people, it actually can be a con for others, as in the heat and humidity in the summer can just be too much for some people. That is why we have so many snowbirds who come down only for the winter and spring months, and then they go back up north for the summer and fall. And of course, we do have to talk about the hurricanes. Being on Florida's Gulf Coast, which, while it is not the most often hit area of the state, it is pretty common for us to see hurricanes. Historically, they happen once every 5 to 7 years. So hurricane season is real, and it's something you have to be prepared for. That said, we also build homes designed to withstand them. So most homes here are well built for storms, especially the newer ones. So now, if even after hearing those cons, you're still thinking about making the move to Venice, give us a call. And if you think Venice might not be the right spot for you, you can still call us to discuss other areas, or if you want to, check out these videos of some of the other nearby cities that might end up being a better fit for you.